Hello everybody, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening depending on where you are in this amazing world. My name is Donovan Jolly and welcome everybody once again for another amazing video of DIY investing. Bitcoin is selling off and it's creating a mass panic across the board. Is this more room for downside, or are we just going to continue on in this healthy correction before venturing further on into new all-time highs? This is very important right now because we're at a very pivotal point. We're right at major resistance, but we're also at that point where we could very easily continue impulsing. We just had the halving, altcoins are showing a lot of strength, and I think that this is now in a very important time where we need to stop, analyze the markets, and then compare other market cycles to see kind of how we can play out from here on out. Today I've got some amazing charts. We're going to be going over Bitcoin. We're going to be comparing Bitcoin to gold. And then we're also going to be taking a look at the S&P 500 and taking a look at how that's shaping up with altcoins as well. Bitcoin is leading the entire market, not only just cryptocurrency, but other major indices as well. It's painting a very peculiar pattern that's going to tell us exactly where price is headed. If you're new and just finding this channel, always remember to do me a favor by leaving a like, comment, and subscribing to this channel for more updates. Make sure that you guys click that notification bell so you don't miss out on any new videos like the one provided for you here. I would really love and appreciate if you guys would join the Discord server as well. It's free for anybody that wants to join. All you gotta do is click in the description of this video, and there you're gonna find the invitation link. Currently we have almost 7,000 members, and this thing is growing so fast. It's really one of the biggest Discord communities out there, and you guys are gonna be able to congregate and actually communicate with a lot of amazing people inside of this community. On the Discord server, I also offer some of my more exclusive content like the video course and signals. The video course is 20 educational videos that teach you guys all of the same strategies that I use to profit inside of crypto. And then the signals are a way for you guys to actually copy my long-term portfolio so that you guys know exactly what I'm holding so you can copy and make those same profits that I'm making along the way. If this sounds interesting to you, all you gotta do is join the Discord. Once you guys have access, shoot me a message and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Now with all that being said, guys, we got a lot of really important charts to cover today, so let's quit messing around and jump right in this amazing video today. Alrighty guys, here we are taking a look at Bitcoin on the dollar. Well, I wanted to start with Bitcoin because I want to talk about some things. We're going to be going over Bitcoin and we're also going to be going over gold because Bitcoin and gold have been leading the markets. And this is a very encouraging sign because anytime there's a lot of uncertainty inside of the markets, gold generally performs well. And so we've always wondered, is Bitcoin going to continue to be a safe haven asset, or is it actually going to be one? Because we've never really had the right parameters inside of society that was really going to test Bitcoin. There hasn't been a war, there hasn't been any sort of major problems inside of the economy until just recently. And Bitcoin's actually done really well. Obviously it didn't do well in the initial crash, but since then we've actually managed to break well above and beyond that level, and we are all in profit. Same with gold as well. And so this is a very, very encouraging sign. Now I want to talk about some things with Bitcoin. I wanted to go over some basic analysis, and really I wanted to dive into the shorter time frames to talk about that. Now with Bitcoin, you guys obviously can see that we're selling off pretty quickly here inside of this consolidation. Now the way that I'm looking at this personally, we've had this trend line for a pretty significant portion of time now. And this is really what I personally have been watching for with this correction. And we're really right back on that same trend line. And so until this trend line breaks, I don't really foresee the big reason to be super bearish. But if it does break, obviously we would be going a little bit lower. If we started breaking through this level and started showing weakness, I would look for shorts personally. And then I would expect us to actually have a retrace back down to about 75 to 7,400. That would be the ideal if in fact we did sell through this trend line. But overall, until we actually do that, I'm going to continue to hold that bullish bias. And for me, what I kind of see here, let's actually delete this and let's look kind of what I'm watching here for this current consolidation that we see. I look this as more of a triangle consolidation. And it's going to coexist pretty nicely with that trend line as well. And I think that this is more or less just a big A, B, C, D, E triangle correction. We finished the A, we finished the B, and we're working on the C right now. That's going to take us back down to trending support. My guess is it's going to be about 86 to 8,500. And then we'll get our next wave, which would be our D. And if we can break out in the D wave, that would be ideal. I would like to see us break out in the D, because if we come back down, it's fine either way, but I would prefer to see us break out in this next impulse after we finish this sell-off. Maybe we kind of come up like that, and then we go back up in the cycle. I'd want to see something along the lines of that, but this is kind of what I'm watching out for. I look at this as more of a triangle correction, and the reason for that, because I honestly view this very similar to the last consolidation that we saw way back here. This was when Bitcoin broke out at 5K, and then we went up to 8,000, and we made this what looked to be like this head and shoulder top, and everybody was labeling it as that. And then we ended up breaking out and going into that next major impulse, and I updated you guys with that in my last video. And really, the more that I look at this, the more that it resembles to me like something along the lines of this. This was our 1, and we are still working in the 3 wave. To me, this looks like this is either the 3 wave, and then we'll finish one more 5 wave impulse that'll take us, to about 11 to 12K. Or I have this as this is just the 3 of the 3, and we still have one more impulse to come that will most likely take us to about 10,800 to about 11K. Should be about right here approximately. We'd get one more little impulse up to that level. We'd sell off a little bit. We'd probably come back down to about $9,100. And then we would finish out the 5 wave impulse that would take us to 12 to 14K approximately. These are really the 2 counts that I'm watching for as it goes right now. That's kind of what I personally am leaning towards. But either way, whether this is just a big 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll get one more 5 impulse before the 3 is done, or whether this is just a big 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll get the 5 of the 5. It doesn't really matter, but regardless, these are both lining up at roughly the same sort of points. This is either just subwaves of a 3, or we are finished with the 3 and we're going to finish one more final 5 wave, and that's going to complete this entire impulse. It doesn't really matter either way, but both ways I'm leaning towards more of the bias of the bull, and I'm going to continue to lean towards that until this trend line actually fails. Now keep in mind, guys, with this trend line, it is possible that when we come back down to retest this C, it is possible that we could momentarily stab below this level, but that's why we'd want to see an impulse back above this trending support so that we can firmly say that this is extremely bullish. Now, because this triangle consolidation does peak outside of this trend line, it's not really that big of a deal because oftentimes prices will peak below a trend and we'll have wicks, kind of like we saw here. And so either way, I'm not really too worried about it. This to me just looks like a triangle correction. I'm going to continue to be bullish, even though we might have a continued sell-off down to about 85 or 86. I just think it looks good. Now, with this, guys, I want to talk about gold here because gold itself is really been leading the market. And if we come over here, let's drop to a bigger time frame. We can see that gold's really been performing well with all of this coronavirus stuff. Coronavirus happened about here. We can see that short sell-off, but it happened to get bought up really quickly. Now, if we look at this, we're at a pretty major resistance level right now. We can see that we've rejected off this level 3 different times, and we've really got to that level closely, but we didn't quite hit it. And it looks like we're kind of getting that sell-off again. Now, watching this, we can see that Bitcoin and gold, it's really been gold that's been leading the market. Bitcoin has followed gold. And from there, they've both been outperforming the rest of the market. And that's kind of to what's expected. Now, with gold, you're not going to make the same percent return, but it's the safe haven asset. Everybody knows that. It's the safest haven asset that I think you could go with. And Bitcoin is my number 2, which is why we need to pay attention to gold because gold is going to lead the way for Bitcoin. And, a lot of people might be angry when I say that, but there's really no reason to be upset by that. Even if some of these old gold heads are really, or some of these old gold bugs are really ignorant towards crypto, doesn't mean that we have to be ignorant towards gold because gold has and will be that best performing asset really of all time, I would have to say, because it's stayed the majority of the cycles. We've been using gold forever. And so I think you can count on this better than you could even count on Bitcoin. Doesn't mean that I agree with that because I still hold a lot of Bitcoin and I trust in it. But gold is going to lead the market. Now, what I noticed here, let's go to a 4-hour time frame. Now, what I noticed here, let's go to a daily time frame. I noticed here that with gold's impulses, we start to make this bearish divergence. We make these 3 peak highs, and then we start this short-term sell-off. Now, the sell-offs are about 6%. This one was about 5-6%. This one from the high to the bottom was, 7%. And we are still impulsing from here, but we do still have this same bearish divergence. Now, what I've noticed is we get rejected off this level a bunch of different times, and then we finally break out, retest it, and then we start the next impulse. And this is kind of what's happened every single point up to this time. And this is what I'm going to continue to watch out for until the trend changes. Because right here we have 3 peak highs. We have bearish divergence. Every time this has happened, we get a short-term correction. And it's happened 2 different times. So I'm actually expecting that we're going to see a little bit of a short-term sell-off here. If it follows the same patterns, then we'd be looking for about a 7 to 6% return. So that would be about 1,600 to about 1,600. And, there's also a very big support level. Let's drop to a weekly time frame and take a look. There's a very major support, well, it would be a support level right about here. And that would be about 1,500. We can see that during the bear market, we kind of stopped. We bounced off of this, 3 different times before selling off. And we've broken back above that level. And with coronavirus, we did kind of retest that and continue impulsing, which is why, maybe we don't end up selling off all the way down. Maybe only go to 1,600 before going back up again. But this is a really strong level that we have yet to really reclaim. And this is a really strong level that, we have reclaimed with COVID, but it is possible that we could revisit that level. This would be a little bit of a bigger correction if we did fall to that. That would take us to about a 12% correction. And in my opinion, if we saw that happen inside of gold, I think that it would be likely that Bitcoin would actually sell through this trend line, and then we would head farther down to about 74, and at the low estimates of about 6,400. And so there's just reasons to be cautious. Just understand that where we're at right now, even though we are selling off, I'm still leaning bullish until this trend line fells. But if we look at gold, gold appears to be showing a little bit of exhaustion from the buying from the bulls right now. And so I'm going to continue to watch and see kind of what happens. But we have painted bearish divergence on the RSI. We do have the 3 peaks and higher highs. Every time this has happened up to this point in gold, it's resulted in a short-term correction of about 5 to 6%. I would expect that we would follow this trend. It does look very similar in market structure, and so we're going to have to watch and see what actually happens. But this is just something to pay attention for, because we could be in for a little bit of a correction here in Bitcoin and gold. Now, this is what takes me to the next part of the chart. This is the S&P 500. This is really the biggest, this is one of the indices for the biggest companies on the stock exchange. And so the S&P 500 is really kind of like an indice, something that we can track all of the biggest companies inside of the stock market, and then we can see how they're performing kind of in an average combination. And so what I noticed here inside of the SPX is really what I want to talk about is we have a couple major levels, and we've really reclaimed all of those levels. We reclaimed it right here. This was during the initial sell-off from COVID. We actually had this level that we bounced off of a number of different times. This is a pretty strong support level. We sold through it here in 2018. And then we ended up retesting it again, but we reclaimed it right here, and we're back above that level. And so this was a level that I was watching. Now, for me, there's another level that I'm watching for. We can see that this was really a resistance level and has acted as a resistance level as well as a support level at that. And this is an area of very high demand. And we can see that there's a number of different reactions off of this level. There's a ton of different reactions. And what we can see here, guys, was recently we reclaimed that level. And instead of acting as resistance, these are acting as support. And we're continuing to kind of impulse higher. And so for me, the stock market doesn't look bearish. Even with all of these different things that you're hearing, I know that the economy is in shambles. I know that. And it really should not be going up right now, but it is. And the thing is, guys, the Fed is just printing endless money. And that's going to continue to make the prices of the S&P go up. And that's just the thing, because there is only a certain supply of stocks inside of each company. And so, with it just printing endless fiat, it's going to continue to go up in dollar value. That's just the way it works. Now, what's interesting to me is if we look at this, I'm actually going to compare the S&P 500 to 2 of the best performing cryptos. We're going to look at ETH, and we're going to look at XRP, because, guys, there's something really amazing that's happening here. And if we take the S&P and we actually paste it inside of our chart, we're going to see how identical these two line up. We can see that we got this short-term correction, we rejected, COVID panic happened right here, and then we sold off. And we can see that both the same things roughly happened on the S&P as well. Market started pricing in all of this chaos, and then we sold off, and we ended up bottoming right there. Now, this is really important because, guys, they're very correlated between the two. And we can see that here. Both crashes look almost identical. There's hardly any difference. And what we can see here forming is we can see that the S&P actually looks very, very similar to what Ethereum is doing today. And even though we are selling off right now, the S&P itself is showing strength, and we are on support. And with that being said, I think that it's more likely that we're going to continue to go up. Because if I look at Elliott wave theory, this to me just looks like a 1, this looks like a 3, and it still looks like we need one more final 5-wave impulse before we complete this initial rally that we've seen. Which, you know, if we look at this, it does appear that both are kind of consolidating sideways. And let's actually get a different color here. It does appear that both are actually consolidating sideways and just need one more leg up. And in my opinion, that next impulse is going to take us to about $250 to $260 per Ethereum. And so that's personally going to be the way I'm trading this all the way through. I look at this as just a short-term pullback because the thing is, guys, Bitcoin itself, and let's remove all these drawing tools, this is the most amazing part of this. The thing is, guys, if we take that same chart and we take a look at it and we compare the two cycles, we're going to see here that these are almost the exact same chart here. And the only difference is the fact that Bitcoin itself is outperforming and leading this market. There is no difference here in market structure. And what this means is that gold and Bitcoin are leading the markets. And what I expect to happen is maybe we get a little short-term pullback in Bitcoin and gold, and then we see a relief rally happening in the altcoins. Maybe this gives us some leeway for the altcoins to actually move. Because the thing is, guys, Bitcoin and gold are leading the markets. That is undeniable. It's easy to tell that that is happening right now. Now, because Bitcoin and gold are leading the markets, altcoins are right behind Bitcoin and gold, and so are these other indices. The stocks are just right behind Bitcoin and gold. Now, with that being said, altcoins and the S&P are actually very correlated, and that's what I don't think people are realizing. Everybody likes to make the correlations, oh, it's Bitcoin and the S&P, when in actuality it's not. Bitcoin's leading the S&P, and in fact, the S&P and the altcoins are actually way more correlated here. And so that's just something to pay attention for as we see this right now, because in Bitcoin, because we broke out, I'm actually expecting that that's going to happen with the S&P. I think that the S&P is going to have one more impulse like I just showed you. It's probably going to come up to about here, which would be about 3,145. And then we might have a short-term correction back down to, you know, this level down here at about 2,800. That's just something to pay attention for. But, you know, guys, Bitcoin is leading the way, and so it's really important that we're watching what happens to gold and what happens to Bitcoin because it might actually mess that up. But we're seeing such correlations between all of the markets here. And in my opinion, you know, we're seeing here inside of Ethereum is the exact same thing. And we're just having this short-term correction right now before we actually kind of impulse and we go back up in this cycle. And that's what I'm watching for with the alts. Now, with XRP, it's really no different. We can see that we see the exact same market structure playing out once again. And we're just having some sideways consolidation here. It's no reason if it doesn't look 100% identical, but I don't think you can argue about the fact that this chart looks exactly the same as the S&P. There's really no difference to me. So if the S&P fails, altcoins are probably going to fail. I personally don't think that that's going to happen. I'm not bearish on the stock market. I am not bearish on Bitcoin. I'm not bearish on gold. And I'm most certainly not bearish on altcoins either. But something to pay attention for is if the fact we do sell off in the S&P, we end up making a low, you guys are going to know what's going to happen to the rest of the altcoins as well, because there are the correlations. But nonetheless, guys, if Bitcoin made this exact same pattern and broke up, I do not see why Ethereum, I don't see why the S&P, and I don't see why XRP aren't going to all do the exact same thing. It just doesn't make sense to me. I believe that the bear market bottom is over, or the bear market bottom is in, and the bear market itself is over. We just have to really watch and see how this consolidation takes us, because we still do have some descending resistances that would need to be covered. Let's drop it to a daily so it's a little easier to see here. We do still have some descending resistances, but we are so close to that descending resistance that if in fact we do get a little bit of a breakout, like we saw back here inside of Bitcoin, you guys know what is going to happen. We'll get that short-term breakout, and it'll most likely end up above this level here. And that's what I'm going to watch out for with XRP. I think that this next impulse, as long as they keep following what Bitcoin did and what gold has been doing, I strongly am leaning towards the scenario where, you know, XRP is going to break out of this short-term descending resistance. It's going to happen in this next impulse. Ethereum will make one more high upwards of about 260. You know, depending on how volatile crypto gets, you could see a break above that level. And then we might just continue going up. It's just hard to say exactly what's going to happen, but I just wanted to cover all of these things for you. I wanted to show you guys what's happening not only in Bitcoin, what's happening in gold, what's happening in the S&P 500, and how all of these are correlated to your favorite altcoins that we all know and love. And so I just want to talk about these things because we're at a very pivotal point where whichever way the markets decide to go is really going to affect all of them. It's important that we take a look at what's happening in the normal conventional financial markets, and we also take a look at what's happening in crypto because they are all very correlated. And so with Bitcoin performing like gold is, this is only furthering my bias that Bitcoin is a safe haven asset and it is a store of value. And you know, with altcoins following more closely to the actual S&P in the stock market, it makes me feel like there's a lot less confidence inside of altcoins, and they're going to continue to follow the leaders as in gold and Bitcoin. I'm not saying that some of these other altcoins aren't going to do very well and outperform Bitcoin, because I do believe they will, but I just think that it's important that we pay attention to Bitcoin. It's important that we pay attention to gold because these are the ones that are leading the entire market. This isn't just crypto we're talking here. This is the entire market on a global scale. So anyways, guys, thank you all so much for tuning into this video. If you found any value in this, always remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. If you guys would like access to my video course or signals, all you gotta do is click in the description of this video. There you're gonna find the invitation link to my Discord. Once you guys have access, you can shoot me a message and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. If you can't figure out how to shoot me a message one of the moderators. You guys will be able to find them inside of the Discord with the red names. Those are going to be the people that can answer all of your questions, so make sure you just reach out to them or me, one of the above, and we'll help get this all situated for you. But with all that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll catch you in the next video. As always, peace out.